Welcome to Ride the Wave podcast, presented by the Center for Spiritual Living West Hawaii, whose vision is to contribute to an emerging world by supporting humanity's awareness of its spiritual connection. We hope you enjoy the following message.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Let's just take a deep breath together. It's an absolutely gorgeous day outside. I saw people on the golf course and there was this whole happy family out there golfing together. And I thought, what a beautiful and wonderful day this is for that. And in my heart this morning, I am feeling that festive, moving into spring feeling as well. So I'm really thrilled to share this talk with you today. This title, Tenderness Towards All Existence, it's a line in a poem by E.E. Cummings. And when I was a teenager, I was in love with his poetry. I have since searched for this line everywhere and I can't find it again. But it so carved itself into me when I was young. I thought, oh my goodness, what would it be like? What would it be like to love so deeply that I had tenderness towards everything? Well, words to live by. So as we're practicing radical acceptance, last week, Reverend Nadine gave a wonderful explanation of what that is. She talked about radicalness as being kind of the extreme, as far as something can go, outside the norm. And acceptance is that place inside us when we're no longer resisting what is, we're allowing things. We're relaxing into allowance. And so radical acceptance is this incredible stance to take in life, that we are going to set our intention and strongly stand in this place of acceptance of all that is happening in our lives and coming our way. Tall order. It's like tenderness towards all existence. Tall order. So as I was preparing this talk, I was thinking, the truth of the matter is, a lot of us have been doing spiritual practice for some time now. You're not new to this. No matter what you've done before Science of Mind, or if you're new to Science of Mind, or if you're ancient to Science of Mind like I am, doesn't matter. We've all been working on manifesting. We've all been working on cleaning out our belief systems, because we all know that what we manifest comes out of our belief systems. It comes out of that layer of the subjective realm, the subconscious mind. And a lot of those messages went in before we were 5 years old. And if you're like me and you're hanging out with a 5-year-old, I want to tell you, their interpretation of what's going on is not one I want to live with. My grandson often feels that he's getting punished if you say no to him. But you could be saying no for the best reason in the world. No, you may not play with fire. Fortunately, he's never wanted to play with fire. But you get what I'm saying. And every once in a while, I'll pull up a meme on YouTube where it shows funny memes that are supposed to make you laugh, and you look at it, and there's always one of some child, some toddler, who's thrown themselves down and is having a major meltdown fit because they can't go swimming in an ice over lake. The absolute ridiculousness and absurd. Well, there's a layer like that in our subconscious. There's a layer like that where we took in messages from our environment and made up stories about what life was, and we're living them. So cleaning this out, clearing this out, allowing ourselves to do a spiritual practice of becoming aware of what's in our subjective and clearing that out allows us to begin to experience some heaven on earth. Have you ever had that feeling where you've manifested something and you're going, wow, this is incredible. Life is for me. There is a presence that is responding to me. wow. And there's this wonderful feeling that comes over us of safety, of security, of joy, of love, of beauty, of wonder, of heaven on earth. Now, I think we've all had moments like that, times like that, maybe even weeks and days and years like that. And when we do elevate to that, and I believe everybody here has manifested a lot of that and has experienced a lot of heaven on earth as well, and has experienced manifesting their heart's desires. As we do that, it allows us to begin to move into some of the higher states of consciousness that we talk about in Science of Mind when we talk about the 4 stages of consciousness. And the 3rd stage is surrender. The 3rd stage is allowing, is radical acceptance. And so as we move into radical acceptance, we begin to feel the sense that all is well with life. Somebody close to us has cancer over here. Somebody over here has just had a miscarriage and lost the child they've been praying and hoping for. There's tragedies that can be in our lives. But when we begin to have this fundamental awareness that life is for us, that this infinite divine presence is love, intelligence itself, and it is orchestrating the entire universe, we begin to feel at a baseline that all is well. That all is well. Now, for me personally, I'd been living in that space for a while, and then the pandemic hit. And I experienced anxiety. I was shocked at how much anxiety I had because I thought, silly me, that I was beyond that. That somehow whatever was going on in the outer world wasn't going to affect me. Oh, so wrong. So very, very wrong. I'm swimming in the ocean with everybody else, and I am subject to everything we're going through. But it was a wonderful experience for me to get to tune up some levels of fear that I hadn't realized I had. So I'm going to invite you today to look at places where you've got some fear harboring or beliefs and limitation and lack. Because I know I've got them and they can be up in my face. But it is my intention to not let that stop me. And there's where radical acceptance comes in. So when the negativity rises up, you know, a good religious scientist, a person who's practiced this a lot, is going to go, cancel, cancel, push that down, shove that aside. La, 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 life is beautiful. Right? Unfortunately, that's called a spiritual bypass and it doesn't work. And so we can get smacked in the face later with that cosmic 2x4 that is saying, yeah, you do have some belief in lack and limitation. And yeah, you do have some fear lingering around here. So get to work. And we do. And as we're clearing through all of this stuff, we're coming now to this wonderfully advanced stage. And I believe that that is appropriate for us. And in Buddhism, they call it the Bodhisattva way. Now, a Bodhisattva is a God-realized soul, is somebody who has experienced that they are one with that divine source. They know that source within them. We all have moments of that. We may even have days of that. And there are parts of our lives where we live inside that consciousness. But it's an invitation for us to step up into the Bodhisattva way. How many of you have ever been to see the Dalai Lama? An incredible experience of a Bodhisattva, in my opinion. We were at the UC Irvine, sitting in the basketball auditorium, and they were, you know, steel bleachers going up to the ceiling. And so, we're packed in here on these steel bleachers, very uncomfortable, while we've got armed guards with machine guns patrolling the place. Not an atmosphere you think that is really peaceful and wonderful. Well, pretty soon, some monks come in, they set up a chair, they light some incense, they sit in meditation, and we all kind of calm down. And then the Dalai Lama walks in the room. I don't know what I was expecting. When you're going to be in the presence of holiness, what do you expect? I was thinking something like that, right? No. Immediately, a wave of joy hits everybody in the room, and we all start giggling like little kids, and he's giggling because he's just filled with that joy of spirit and presence. And I was like, this wasn't what I expected. Is this what it's like? Wow, I want some of that. That's cool. That's the best. And so that's the invitation in our bodhisattvahood. That's the invitation for us as we step into really deepening our spiritual practice. And I'm going to get into that part next, but I wanted to give you a little carrot invitation that we can radiate and know pure joy and peace and love in our hearts, despite everything. Think of what the Dalai Lama has been through. I mean, losing his country. We won't go into it, but just know that this is an individual who has faced some really harrowing experiences for his people and for himself personally, and he lives in joy. And there's this place of just giggling, childlike wonder inside of him. So for us, what is the step that we need to take next? Because we've already advanced to this level where we're experiencing some moments of peace on earth and joy, and we're practicing radical acceptance. So what's next for us? I got some bad news. Facing your inner pain, not avoiding it. Not avoiding it. And if you're like me, you love avoiding it. Well, I mean, we've all got our tools and techniques for how we deal with the pain that we're in, because this experience of embodiment can be difficult. As I said, there's somebody on the right of us who's got cancer, somebody on the left of us who's just lost a child. I mean, those are examples of what I would consider suffering. And when it's our loved ones, we suffer with them. But there's an invitation for us to go deeply into our pain and our fear. And we can only do it when we experience that oneness and that connection. You see, that's our lifeline. That's our bungee cord, so to speak, spiritually. We are in the harness. Like when you do a zip line, we are in the harness of our awareness of our oneness with that presence. That's what spiritual practice is for. It's to get us in touch with who we are, because there's all kinds of adventures in life and they're not all pleasant. And manifestation stuff, wonderful, is stage 2. And we're moving into stage 3 now. We're moving into radical acceptance. We're moving into really acknowledging our oneness with the presence and knowing that we are here to open our hearts in compassion to ourselves 100%. 100%. And when we do, when we're willing to be with the part of us that's in pain, when we're willing to be with the part of us that falls down, makes a mistake, does it wrong, and we hold ourselves in love and forgiveness, we begin to open up into tenderness. There's a tenderness that comes in, a forgiveness of self. That's saying, I'm only human. Well, let's take the only out of there. Being human is pretty miraculous and amazing, amazing, because we're at choice. So acknowledging the suffering or the pain that, or the fear or whatever the unpleasant situation is inside of us that we are in or we are feeling does not mean sitting down and dwelling on it. There's a difference. It's like if I had my grandson here and he tripped and he fell and he skinned his knee. I would hold him. I would, soothe him, probably put some sort of antibacterial something on it and a Band-Aid, and then go play. That's what we do with ourselves. We hold ourselves, we witness it in tenderness and in acceptance. And then it's kind of like setting ourselves free to keep going. Because we're going on this path. So what happens then is we begin to open up to this level of compassion for others. But it only comes through acceptance of ourselves. It only comes through loving ourselves. It only comes through being willing to be with all of us. So let's take a deep breath around that. I've got a quote here from Tara Brach, who is the author of the book Radical Acceptance, where she says, "We become so addicted to judging and mistrusting ourselves. Any sincere gesture of care to those wounded places within us brings about a radical transformation because we've been so addicted to judging ourselves. Our suffering then becomes a gateway to the compassion that frees our heart. We don't have to be afraid of it. We don't have to push away other people's suffering or do a spiritual bypass around it. We can open to it and witness it and know that they are greater than whatever situation they're in. Do you see what I'm saying? When we know that they are that spiritual presence having a human experience, it's okay what their human experience is, and we acknowledge that sometimes it's very painful. She says then, when we become the holder of our own sorrows, our old role as judge, adversary, or victim is no longer needed. I'm going to say that again. When we become the holder of our own sorrows, our old role as judge, adversary, or victim is no longer needed. Because, see, there's this big container that's holding it. We're bigger than this. It's like if you've got a small boat, it's really rocked. But when we recognize that we are the entire container, including the little boat, which is our ego, it changes our perspective. We can hold so much more. And there's this sense of, yes, there are waves of life with these sorrows, and our heart can hold it and have compassion for it, just as though we were a beloved small child. She finishes here with, in the place of that old role as judge or adversary or victim, we don't find a new role. But what we do find is a courageous openness, a capacity for genuine tenderness, not only for ourselves, but for others as well. And that's it right there. That's what having a courageous heart is. And as we step into practitionership, as we step into service, and everyone in this room is in service in their lives, there's that ability to hold others with compassion and know that no matter what the circumstances are, that there is that infinite divine source and presence moving through them always, uplifting them and elevating them, and that the suffering and the sorrow is like the night and the day, There's always in this realm of embodiment, duality, light and dark, joy and pain. All day long, we will push away what we don't want to experience and want to draw towards us what we do want to experience. This is natural. And as we open to this place of a bodhisattva way, radical acceptance, we really open to knowing that higher truth at the source and at the center of it. And it allows us to witness the suffering and the sorrow in our own heart and in others with tenderness. So I'm going to invite you to close your eyes for a moment. And taking in a deep breath, I invite you to center your awareness on the heart chakra. So going into your heart, breathing into your heart. If there is an area of your life right now that is painful, that is scary, perhaps unpleasant, I invite you to breathe in to that place. Breathe into that pain, breathe into the discomfort. And as you breathe into it, imagine it is a doorway. And it opens as you soften into allowing and accepting yourself to be in pain, to have discomfort. And as you soften, see this as a doorway into your greatness, a doorway into your greater awareness, opening into letting go and being free of fear and pain. So we breathe it in, recognizing those places that are uncomfortable, holding them, allowing them, and recognizing that they are held by that infinite source itself, which is all love, all good, all life. There is nothing to fear. We are each one with that divine source. And it is moving through each of us, through this doorway, into our greater and greater awareness. And so with your next breath, I invite you to let go and know that your great healing is on the other side of allowing and accepting all of you, all of life. And so it is.
Thanks for listening. We hope we have brought something of meaning to your day. For information on classes, events, and spiritual support, you can find us at cslwh.org. That is cslwh.org. Blessings on your week.